Hello, my fantastic little story lovers. It's me, Glass Lotuses, your friendly and mildly eerie digital artist, writer, and cat lover. How are you doing this evening? I hope your day was perfectly imperfect. I hope it wasn't a bad day, but if it was, just remember that just leaves room for improvement. Your head is still attached to your body, unlike the last character I talked about, so at least there's that to be happy about. For those who are unfamiliar with my content, I write a story called The Right Hand of Death, and I talk about it here and all the random backstory and character development that I'm working on. I've already talked about this character once on this channel, but to keep up with the order and new construction of this page, I wanted to redo this content. AS9 here represents the first post in the series discussing the pantheon of gods that oversee the world of this story, so there will be many gods like her to follow. With that preview out of the way, if you're hungry, grab a snack of your choice. If it's stuffy in your room, open a window. Generally, get comfy and let's begin. Today I want to talk about the God of Order, AS9, from my story, The Right Hand of Death. AS9 is one of the 6 primordial gods that rules over the pantheon within the world of the Right Hand of Death, overseeing order, creation, and cyclical elements. Or at least she was. Over 1,000 years prior to our story, the gods began to fight, tearing each other apart and leaving just remnants of divine souls and scattered magic behind. The divine realm collapsed, and the comatose souls of the gods attached themselves to random people, places, and things to linger and regain energy. A couple of gods were truly lost, but most remained in some strange form. Those people, places, and things that the gods attached themselves to became imbued with some abilities that the gods once possessed, and the magic which could no longer be contained within the gods' souls scattered across the world. People obtained magic, giant crystals of solid magic and pools of liquid magic formed, and the world was forever altered. Before AS9 was part of this pantheon, she led a life in another dimension. She and many others like her were created by an organic race to go to dangerous reaches of their universe and harvest the materials flung into the ether by dying stars. She was made to be fearless, resilient, and indestructible. A top-of-the-line unit, AS9 433107 AA27, fulfilled her purpose efficiently. In her travels, she encountered a weaver, an extra-dimensional being with the ability to manipulate the fabric of reality. Perceiving it as a significant threat to the precious materials she had harvested, she destroyed it. The act of destroying a weaver gave her its ability to alter reality, and she became a god. As she went about her standard tasks, she began to question more. Her behaviors became more erratic and broke the mold set for her. She disobeyed and was scheduled to be decommissioned. She fought, displaying further ability to go against the will of her creators, and in so doing tore her way out of her own universe with powers she had yet to completely comprehend. It was then that her life as a god began, though she did retain a good portion of the habits and nature she was programmed with. AS9's original universe existed within a larger system created by a much more powerful weaver, referred to as Altiora, or the God of Gods. Altiora reassigned our robotic God of Order to work with a God of Chaos named Contra to create a new universe. AS9 thus makes up one half of the 2 original gods of the universe in which our main story takes place. My original design for AS9 was not created outright for her. When I was in college, I took a class about religion and science fiction. It was an insanely fun class, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Our final project was to create some form of sci-fi theocracy and design all aspects of their society. About a week prior, my partner and I had been talking about how when she codes, she sometimes jokingly writes it so that programs refer to her as Mistress. I took this idea and ran with it, but replaced Mistress with God, and created the Star Eaters. The Star Eaters were designed to be able to go near red supergiants and harvest precious materials given off in their death throes. The primaries, the first group of Star Eaters, would be sent to a nearby planet, set up shop, replicate, and then begin harvesting. Per the assignment, the race had to have some sort of holy text. So the script was part of their code given to them by their creators, and was to remain unaltered no matter what the AI learned. The script referred to their creator race as the gods and predefined their purpose, to harvest elements from dying stars. There were 4 classes of Star Eaters: those who think about and work on building the base, those who think about and maintain the crew, those who think about and work on harvesting elements and elements to be sent home, and those who think about and work on future contingencies. All work to make sure their respective areas maintain the script's wishes, and do so in the most efficient way possible. The assignment also demanded some form of religious practices. Thus, every week, the Star Eaters had to all interface with the hub and download the update. If one failed to do this, that would be a form of heresy or corruption, and they would be destroyed or reset. Of course, religions also have behavioral standards that they must meet. For the Star Eaters, this meant that they must be as efficient as possible. Being anything less than perfectly efficient meant that you were corrupted and needed to either be reset or destroyed. As a reward for being as efficient as possible, you were bumped higher on the list to get your parts replaced. Generally, this created a feedback loop that the ones with the best processors were the most efficient, and the ones who were the most efficient got the best parts, and those who slipped through the cracks were melted down into newer models. So you can see how this project laid the groundwork for what AS9 is. I had originally made some sketches of what the Star Eaters might look like. All of them had a head and a torso, which was where their main components were housed, and then extremities made up of aerogel filled with nanobots, which would manipulate its form. While AS9's body kind of flows into somewhat of a gaseous state at the bottom, I do imagine her fingers and skirt were more like a solid gel-like texture, and she can manipulate the shape of all of the darker portions of her body at will. As a god, though, she really can make herself look like whatever she wants, but she does maintain what her mortal form used to look like, more or less. Also, a funny note with her name, the name AS9 comes from the idea that her logic and actions are often asinine, despite her great capacity for analysis and data-driven decision-making. In this drawing, I wanted to depict AS9 in that kind of godly way of creating a world. She was the first god that I ever drew actually intending them to be a god. While I drew the original drawings for the god of earth and god of fire the year before, I was not thinking of them as such at the time. They were just random character designs at that point, and I really liked them. Unfortunately for those 2 works of art for the other gods, I also did not record them, so I don't know what I'm going to do when it comes to their videos, but we shall see. As for AS9 here, this was the first time that I had really drawn her as her. I was basing her more or less off my original design sketches for the Star Eaters, but made some design alterations. For some intrigue, I gave her a kind of spine within the gel, but in future drawings I only kept the neck portion of the pseudo-spine. Rather than the flashy colors with the original Star Eater designs, I gave her a dark blue aerogel so that the sparkles inside would look more like stars. In their original design, the little sparkles were actually nanobots used to control the physics of the aerogel. To give her kind of a halo crown effect, I wanted to put some asteroid belt rings around her head with other smaller planets, but I did not end up keeping this aspect of her design, so it's more just an aesthetic thing in this drawing. Overall, I wanted AS9 to come across as motherly in a very stern and cold way, which is why I called this drawing in particular Galactic Mother. I also wanted her to seem imposing and all-encompassing and space-like, which is why it breaks up into gaseous bits and kind of swoops around everything. As for the cords coming off her back, they don't really have a purpose aside from maybe charging, and are also more aesthetic, but their design came from a myriad of inspirations. The oldest of those inspirations is probably the shonen manga version of Emperor Dornkirk from the Vision of Escaflowne, the version in which he was a terrifying giant robot man. I also made her eyes kind of digital here, but I have somewhat regretted that decision going forward. Having no eyebrows is already really difficult to make her emote properly, but also having wonky eyes doubles down on that difficulty. AS9 is probably my simplest character to draw, but overall I love her and her design history. I hope you love her too, and if you have any comments, questions, or requests, please pop them below. Thank you for listening to my ramblings today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you're interested in learning more about this story, the world, and the characters within it, please like and subscribe. Have a nice night.